28 days and beyond.
We talk about our history, our heritage, and our culture.
I'm Amari.
Charisma, welcome. Hey, Amari.
Yeah. What's going on?
Chilling.
Hey, well, listen.
So,
Yeah, I got a big one today. This one is straight from the heart. You know what I mean?
all right, I'll
There have been so over the past year, right? We've seen people forced into a situation that previously was kind of looked at. I mean, as people look at you a little crazy if you talked about homeschooling, and now people are doing what isn't quite homeschooling, but schooling from home. At the same time, it's really
home,
exposed
yeah.
parents to being like, yo, actually, there's an alternative educational route out here that may be better for my child. So today we're joined
Absolutely.
by an expert in Black homeschooling. This brother has run his own homeschool collective. He has developed a curriculum along with all the supporting materials specifically for Black homeschoolers. And we're going to talk with him about all of this and so much more. So we welcome to the show my brother, Dr. Samori Camara. Dr. Camara, what's up, man?
Welcome.
What's up, man? What's up, man? How you doing? How y'all doing? Great to be here on the show.
Everything's good, man.
Revolutionary
Yeah.
love
Thanks
to
for
you
coming.
all.
Yeah, I'm about to say, man. You know what I mean? It ain't that. Yo, man. So let's
So
jump
much.
into it, bro. There have been a lot of people, talking about homeschooling. A lot of people saying, I don't know where to start. And I was thinking back to a book that you wrote, Education for Liberation, right? Top 20 questions and answers for Black homeschoolers. Man, what are some of the things that you say right from the beginning when somebody says, where do I start with homeschooling?
Mhm.
I mean, start with who you are, right? Start with
Mm,
the question of whose well done are you seeking down the line for your child? Like,
mm,
when it's over, when your child's education, their formal education is over, whose well done are you going to be seeking? So are you looking for the establishment, the system to say, yes, my child is smart, they are intelligent? Or are you looking for maybe your child to come back to you and say, hey, thank you for putting me in educational environments that really, really nurtured me, really nurtured my spirit, my soul, my consciousness of who I am, and knowledge of my people. So that's the first question. I
mm.
mean, who's well done are you looking for, and who do you want your child to be, and who does your child want to be, right? And that's really what it's all about for me. That's the point that we start with our homeschooling endeavors.
So, what
Yes.
actually led you on this journey to, finding better resources, particularly for Black children
Mhm.
whose parents were interested in homeschooling them? What led you on that journey?
Well, we started an African Center homeschool in 2009 in New Orleans. It was called Black Star
Mhm.
Educational Cooperative with my man Bakir Tayihembe. And then we changed it up to Kamali Academy. And what we found was that, yeah, there had been a number of schools that have been open for a long time from the African Center perspective who had African Center curriculum. But when we tried to search for it, people were kind of, I don't know, guarded about their secrets in their African Center curriculum. So we decided to just create our own things. I mean, people, as soon as we started the school, people began to ask me, hey, what kind of curriculum do you use? And I would say, hey, you don't need somebody else's curriculum. You can do your own thing. Figure out who your child is, figure out their purpose,
Right.
figure out their interests, and let them lead the way in many ways. But of course, make sure they understand who they are, make sure they read well, they communicate well verbally and in a written form, manipulate numbers well, and also, again, know who they are. But as people continue to ask, I say, you know what? Um, let's build something. And actually,
Mm-hmm.
I built that first. I wrote that first curriculum the same year, that same summer that Amari got married. And I launched it when I was when I was at his wedding, actually, and people
Yeah.
really showed that it was something that was needed, and it continues to sell to this day.
Yeah, man. I
Yeah,
mean,
multiple
you know,
celebrations.
uh, there it is, man. But Samori, one of the things you said earlier was, who does your child want to be, man? And one of the things I think is really
Mhm.
powerful about the work that you've been doing is you've incorporated the students into it. So you have several co-authored workbooks, right? Educational materials that
Mhm.
your
Mhm.
students have actually participated in. Tell us some more about that, as well as why you think it's important to center the child's interest in the educational process.
Oh, so number one, if we're using these curriculum resources, and we have intelligent young African people who are in our midst, and we're also teaching them how to become, business owners and entrepreneurs themselves. Why not bring them into the fold and help them become
Mm-hmm.
authors very, very early on? So we had a couple young brothers who were very bright at our school at Kamali Academy. And I said, you know what, man, we're going to do this 50 Africans you must know. And you guys know a lot about these 50 Africans. And by doing a research for this kind of book, you will learn more. How about y'all write it with me?
Mm-hmm.
And these young brothers, they really took to it. Of course, they make royalties, off of the book because they're the authors. And again, that book is still selling. We understand that if a child sees themselves in a curriculum, if they see themselves in a picture, then they'll take a lot more interest in it. And not only do they see themselves in a picture of the people that we're talking about, Marcus Garvey and Patrice Lumumba and Ella Baker and all those folks, but they also see themselves literally as authors, so of course they're going to
Mm-hmm.
take a great interest. And I'm sure they remember a lot of the knowledge that they gleaned from those particular snippets that we wrote about of those great African warriors. But when you're talking about using the child or making sure, are we centering the African child? That's a beautiful thing because it's not done in many places. It's not going to be done in the public
Mm-hmm.
school system. They're never going to ask your child what they want to learn about. Your child is not going to see themselves in the curriculum. And so when we have that kind of miseducation, then we are building Africans who don't want to be African. We're building Africans who can care less about the issues that we face as a community. But on the other hand, at Kamali Academy and many Africans in the schools around the country, we ask the question, what kind of Africans do we need to solve the kind of problems we have? And that's a question that Amos
Mm-hmm.
Wilson asked us, right? And so we're building those kind of Africans who understand themselves, who are going to build for themselves, and who are going to take our interests to heart.
Wow. Well, what
Nice,
are some
man.
of the
Yeah.
education for liberation questions and answers that you offer to readers in your book?
I mean, we have a number of them. One of the things is that do you have to use the same curriculum as the school system? And in many ways, you don't. Of course, it depends on your state. Some states have tests that you have to take every other year or something like that. But there are ways to actually get around those standardized tests. One of the main questions that we get is how do you educate multiple children at the same time who are on different levels? And what I
Mm,
tell
yeah.
parents all the time is, okay, so the the
Important.
the reading and the math should be taught on the individual level, right? But the science and the
Right.
owl story and the art and everything else can be taught together because the reading and the math piece, they're kind of sequential, right? You really have to know this before you go on to the next
Mm,
stage
mhm,
in those
mhm.
subjects. But the other things, if everybody
Right.
is learning about, if one child is learning about Marcus Garvey, every child is learning about Marcus Garvey. The younger one might just be, looking at a picture or learning, the story of Marcus Garvey. The other one might be reading the philosophies and opinions of Marcus Garvey, right? If one child is learning about, biology, every child is learning about biology. But of course, there's a PhD and a kindergarten level to any of these subjects. So teach them those subjects together. But when it comes to reading and math,
Yeah.
you want to do that on their own level. And another question that people always ask is, my child has discipline problems at school. Can
Yeah.
homeschooling help? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Context matters. The environment matters. There's an African proverb that says that, a plant, no matter how healthy, can survive in contaminated soil. So your child is healthy, but if you put them in contaminated soil for too long or so long in that public food system, then it's going to damage them. And of course, there might be some discipline problems. There might be some zapping of motivation to even learn when you're in an environment with 20, 30 other children in the same classroom,
Yeah.
and they're never asking you what you want to learn about. So that's just a couple questions that we get all the time.
Yo,
Thank
man,
you. Thank you for that.
before we head out, man, I want to ask you over the past year, right, with all the changes to the educational landscape, what is one opportunity that you want to see us pursue going forward?
I mean, yeah, as you talked about before, man, a lot of people are kind of forced to homeschool, and they're seeing the benefits of it. But we need more. We need more of those
Mm,
Yeah.
educators who have dedicated themselves to the lives of our children, the minds of our children, um, to step outside of the system, and not obey authority as much, and build our own. We need our own educational system across the globe, right? To give our children African-centered education that will lead us into a better future.
Man, that's what's up,
Absolutely.
man. Well, listen, bro,
Thank you
I
so
want to
much.
just say, man, thank you for all the work that you're doing. You have certainly given me and my wife the confidence to pursue this homeschooling journey. And, we've never had to
No doubt.
falter in our steps because you've kind of laid that foundation for us to follow, man. So we're really grateful to you, man, and all the work you're doing, bro. It's really good to see you, man.
Don't do this, man.
Oh,
Don't
you
you do
make
this.
Yo, man, thanks for joining us,
No
Samori.
doubt, man.
Yeah,
All
man.
right. Revolutionary love.
Yes, sir. This has been another episode of 28 Days and Beyond.
Our heritage and our culture. We'll see you next time.